Right now, somewhere on Interstate 80, there's a massive 18-wheeler pulling over at a truck stop.
Yeah,
But, the driver isn't stopping because they're tired or hungry or even because they, prefer this specific gas station.
right.
They are pulling over because a simple piece of plastic sitting in their wallet just ordered them to.
It's wild, honestly. I mean, it looks like a standard credit card, right? Just
Yeah,
something you'd use to buy a coffee.
exactly.
But in the commercial trucking industry, especially now in the year 2026, that little piece of plastic is actually the entry point to this multi-billion-dollar invisible nervous system,
Oh, absolutely.
and it is quietly running the entire global supply chain.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today, our mission is to decode that invisible system. We're looking at fleet fuel cards and the massive efficiency platforms powering them.
Right.
We'll unpack our sources to understand how these systems have evolved from just, basic payment tools into these absolute strategic powerhouses.
Yeah, they do so much more now.
They track real-time data, block fraud before it even happens, and even dictate exactly where a driver is allowed to wash their truck. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because if you think this is just about logistics, you are totally missing the bigger picture.
Far bigger. What's fascinating here is how an industry takes its most chaotic, unpredictable, and just massive expense and forces it into a state of highly structured, actionable business intelligence.
And if you're listening to this right now, you really need to know how this invisible machinery works.
Definitely.
Whether you manage a business, invest in enterprise tech, or, you're simply someone who buys groceries that arrive on a truck.
Which is everyone.
Exactly. The ruthless efficiency of these systems dictates the prices you pay every single day.
To really grasp the technology running these cards, we have to establish the sheer financial terror of operating a commercial fleet without one.
Oh, the terror is real.
Fuel is not a line item you can just casually budget for. In the commercial transport world, fuel accounts for roughly 20 to 35% of a company's total operating costs.
Wow, 20 to 35%.
Yeah,
I'm trying to visualize the scale of that. I mean, we all wince when it costs like 60 or 70 bucks to fill up a standard sedan.
right. But a trucking company is buying thousands and thousands of gallons a day.
So what does this all mean? Like, what does that kind of volatility do to a business?
It makes them incredibly fragile. I mean, in 2026, diesel prices are averaging above $4 per gallon.
Ouch.
And that number fluctuates wildly, right?
Right.
Based on global events, supply chain hiccups, regional taxes.
It's all over the place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Having up to a third of your entire operational budget tied to a commodity that changes price by the minute is the ultimate vulnerability.
It's like running a massive industrial manufacturing factory, but you have absolutely no idea how much electricity your machines are going to use on any given Tuesday.
That's a great analogy.
You just get this mystery bill at the end of the month, cross your fingers, and hope it doesn't bankrupt you. It's basically financial Russian roulette.
Yeah, and the market has realized that survival requires predictability. That intense need for control is why the fleet fuel card market has completely exploded.
Right.
Our sources project the total market value to exceed $13 billion this year alone.
13 billion.
And it's on a rapid track to hit $18 billion by 2030. So this is no longer some niche, optional financial perk.
Well, when you have a $13 billion industry built entirely around a single expense, the savings must be staggering.
Oh, they are.
What kind of money is actually staying in the pockets of these fleet managers?
So fleets actively using these efficiency systems are reducing their overall fuel costs by 5 to 15%.
Okay.
If you apply that to a mid-sized fleet, let's say, like 50 trucks, you're keeping between $18,000 and $72,000 in the bank every single year.
That is massive for a mid-sized business.
And for larger national fleets, those operational savings easily clear $300,000 annually.
All from swiping a piece of plastic instead of handing over cash or like a standard corporate Visa card?
Yep.
But how? I mean, if a business is saving $300,000, the answer can't just be a polite, negotiated bulk discount at the pump. The real leverage has to be the data.
The data is everything. When a driver uses personal cash or a standard credit card, the resulting data is practically useless.
Right. Just says, what, $50 spent at a gas station.
Exactly. But when a driver swipes a modern fleet fuel card, it triggers a literal forensic accounting event.
Oh, wow.
The system logs the exact number of gallons pumped, the fractional price paid, the geographical coordinates of the station, the specific identity of the driver, and the exact timestamp.
So it's not a payment, it is an operational audit happening in real time.
And that audit feeds instantly into management dashboards.
So the managers see it right away.
Yep. Fleet managers sitting in an office 3 states away receive real-time alerts. They tie this purchase data directly into the truck's telematics, the onboard GPS and engine diagnostic systems.
It essentially functions like a smartwatch for a big rig, constantly tracking the health and efficiency of the route.
That's exactly what it is.
And I imagine that level of granular data is a massive weapon against fraud.
Huge. Fraud in trucking used to be this massive, untrackable leak.
Really? Like, how bad was it?
Well, a driver could theoretically use a standard company credit card to buy 100 gallons of diesel, but also ring up, a flat screen TV, a carton of cigarettes, a bunch of snacks.
And just bury the extra cost in the total receipt.
Exactly. But fleet fuel systems physically prevent that. The system communicates with the point-of-sale terminal at the truck stop.
Okay.
And if the product SKU code isn't specifically for diesel or pre-approved maintenance, the transaction is instantly declined right at the pump.
Wait a second. I had a question about this route tracking stuff.
Yeah.
If my Maps app tells me to drive 5 miles off the highway because gas is 10 cents cheaper a gallon over there, I'm burning fuel just to get to the cheaper fuel.
Right.
How does the math on that actually work for a massive semi-truck? If the card tells a driver to drive 5 miles out of their way to save 10 cents a gallon, doesn't that waste time and fuel? How does route alignment actually work? Doesn't detouring for a discount kind of cannibalize the savings?
This raises an important question, and it's a major challenge highlighted in the text. Let's break down the mechanics.
Please.
A fully loaded semi-truck might only get 6 miles to the gallon.
Right. They're heavy.
So 10-mile round-trip detour burns almost 2 gallons of diesel. At $4 a gallon, that detour costs the fleet $8 in fuel alone.
Not to mention the hourly wage of the driver and the wear and tear on the vehicle.
Exactly.
So to justify an $8 detour cost on a standard 100-gallon fill-up, the discount at that specific pump has to be massive just to break even.
And the AI behind the fuel card is calculating that exact formula in real time.
Oh, wow.
It analyzes the truck's current fuel level, the distance to the in-network station, the specific discount negotiated at that station, and the cost of the deviation.
That's insane.
But here's the kicker. None of that complex math matters if the human behind the wheel ignores it.
Which means the system is completely reliant on driver compliance.
It requires a complete cultural shift for a profession built on, open road independence.
Yeah, nobody wants a robot telling them where to turn.
Right. But if a driver operates outside the card's specific discount network, simply because a random station was easier to pull into, the financial benefits completely vanish.
They just evaporate.
Fleets actually lose money in that scenario because they're paying the fuel card's monthly management fees without reaping any of the negotiated savings. It demands relentless driver training.
But there is a massive administrative upside to this digital leash, isn't there?
Oh, definitely.
Something that fleet accountants probably view as a literal lifesaver. I'm looking at the notes on IEFTA reporting, the International Fuel Tax Agreement.
Right, IEFTA is one of the most notoriously complex administrative burdens in logistics.
Tell me about it.
Commercial trucks cause significant wear and tear on interstate highways. So to pay for road maintenance, states demand fuel taxes.
Makes sense.
But they don't tax based on where the fuel was purchased. They tax based on where the fuel was consumed.
Which sounds like an absolute logistical nightmare.
It is.
I mean, if a driver fills up a massive 200-gallon tank in Texas, but drives straight through Oklahoma, Kansas, and Nebraska, those 3 states want their cut of the tax for the miles driven on their specific roads.
Yep.
Even though the driver didn't buy a single drop of fuel there.
Exactly. And historically, fleets had to prove exactly how many miles were driven in every single jurisdiction.
How did they even do that?
Fleet managers spend grueling hours every week sifting through literal shoeboxes full of physical receipts.
Oh, gross.
Cross-referencing them with handwritten driver logbooks and calculating the state-by-state burn rate just to figure out their tax liability.
Ugh.
The audit risk was astronomical.
But now you have a fuel card acting as a forensic auditor, tracking the exact location of the purchase, paired with the truck's GPS, tracking the exact path of consumption.
Yep. The integration of those two data streams automates the entire process.
That's incredible.
The system knows the purchase date, the gallon volume, and maps the GPS route to calculate the precise fuel burn per jurisdiction. It turns weeks of manual, error-prone accounting into an automated, perfectly auditable digital report.
Well, if the data generated by these systems is saving fleets hundreds of thousands of dollars and eliminating massive legal audit risks, the companies hoarding that data must wield immense power.
They absolutely do.
Who actually holds the keys to this ecosystem in 2026? Because looking at the sources, it's a fiercely divided market.
It is. The provider a fleet chooses fundamentally dictates their entire operational strategy.
How so?
For instance, providers like TCS and RTS are the dominant forces for long-haul carriers operating on very predictable, consistent routes. They offer massive, concentrated per-gallon savings. But those savings are locked into major specific truck stop chains.
So if your entire business model is running trucks back and forth on Interstate 80 coast to coast, and your drivers pass the exact same major truck stops every 3 days.
You lock into TTS or RTS and harvest those massive, concentrated discounts.
Right.
But if your operation is mixed, maybe you handle regional deliveries, agriculture, or routes that just change daily, locking into a few major chains is a massive liability.
Yeah, that wouldn't work at all.
That's where a provider like ADB steps in. They prioritize ultimate flexibility, allowing fleets to fuel at a much wider range of independent rural stations while still maintaining competitive, albeit slightly smaller, discounts.
And then sitting at the top of the corporate food chain, you have EFS and WEX.
Those two are the enterprise titans. They possess massive, deeply embedded networks.
The big guys.
Yeah, they are the gold standard for massive corporate fleets that prioritize absolute ironclad control over their spending and require unparalleled enterprise-grade fraud protection.
But the most fascinating player to me is the disruptor.
Mudflap.
Yes. Here's where it gets really interesting. The sources highlight this app-based solution called Mudflap, and they are making massive waves right now.
They really are changing the game.
They are offering major savings, but they are completely bypassing the intense credit checks that the traditional enterprise giants demand.
Exactly.
But how does a company offer thousands of dollars in fuel discounts to small, independent operators without running a massive credit check to ensure they can pay the bill?
They altered the fundamental financial mechanism. Traditional titans act almost like banks, extending massive lines of corporate credit to fleets.
Right.
Mudflap bypasses the credit risk entirely by using a pre-funded digital wallet or a direct link to the operator's bank account via an ACH transfer.
Ah, I see.
They aren't loaning money. They're acting as a closed-loop payment clearinghouse.
That's smart.
It eliminates their financial risk, allowing them to instantly approve an owner-operator with just 2 trucks and grant them access to fleet-level pricing.
It completely democratizes access to this efficiency tech. The little guy finally gets the discounts previously hoarded by fleets with 200 trucks.
It's a huge deal for smaller operators.
Wait, there's always a catch. Are these companies just giving away free money?
Not at all.
The sources make it very clear that smaller fleets can actually bleed money if they aren't careful.
The danger lies in the fee structures. Many of these sophisticated cards charge monthly account fees per user, per transaction swipe fees, or severe financial penalties if a driver accidentally uses the card out of network.
That adds up fast.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
If a small fleet is paying $50 a month in maintenance fees, but the driver continually pulls into the most convenient non-network gas station.
The fleet gets zero discount.
Exactly.
So the fees outpace the savings, turning a financial tool into a leaky bucket.
Precisely.
It proves that simply owning the technology isn't enough. It requires aggressive, active management. Which brings us to a fascinating side effect of all this optimization.
Oh, the truck washes.
Yes. The drive for total efficiency doesn't stop at the diesel pump. It is bleeding into every single peripheral aspect of fleet maintenance. Specifically, a surprisingly cutthroat, high-stakes industry, the commercial truck wash.
Most people view a truck wash purely as cosmetics, you know?
Yeah, just making the company logo look shiny and professional on the highway.
Right. But in the commercial logistics world, a clean vehicle is a strict, legally mandated compliance issue. It forms a mobile biological firewall.
A mobile biological firewall. I love that phrasing.
It's intense, but accurate.
We are talking about highly regulated industries here, like food transport and pharmaceuticals.
If a refrigerated truck pulls up to a major distribution center to load $50,000 worth of fresh produce, and the interior of that trailer doesn't meet strict FDA sanitation standards,
They just reject it.
the facility will outright reject the load, and the trucking company eats that massive loss.
Ouch.
So an $80 certified truck wash is actually a cheap insurance policy on a $50,000 cargo load.
And because the stakes are that high, you have an entire ecosystem battling over how to provide that wash.
Oh, it's a war out there.
You have the large fixed location networks, these massive automated drive-through facilities built specifically for big rigs, offering total consistency.
Right.
And competing against them, you have mobile washing services teams that actually drive out to the fleet yards in the middle of the night and hand wash the trucks while they are parked.
Which offers ultimate operational flexibility so the driver doesn't waste hours waiting in line at a wash bay.
Yeah, exactly. But the actual method of washing is secondary to how the service is purchased. If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yes, let's connect it.
the ultimate advantage in the 2026 service provider landscape is enterprise bundling.
Bundling.
Think of it like a massive software as a service ecosystem, similar to AWS or Salesforce. Once a company integrates its core infrastructure into an ecosystem, it makes financial sense to buy all peripheral services from that same ecosystem.
So a service provider doesn't just want to sell you diesel.
No. They want to sell you the fuel, the FDA-certified truck wash, the oil change, and the secure overnight parking, and they want to route all of those transactions through the exact same fuel card.
It locks the fleet into their infrastructure. The fleet manager uses a single dashboard to approve the route, authorize the specific wash vendor, log the compliance certificate, and pay the invoice simultaneously.
Wow.
The providers who successfully integrate their physical services into these digital platforms are the ones monopolizing the market.
Wait, if this entire digital infrastructure is built around the consumption of diesel fuel, what happens when the fleet goes electric?
The EV question.
Right. As major carriers diversify their fleets in 2026 and start deploying electric trucks for local and regional deliveries, does this massive $13 billion fuel card ecosystem just become instantly obsolete?
It forces a total platform pivot. The sources indicate these providers are aggressively evolving from just fuel cards into comprehensive energy and operations platforms.
That makes sense.
A fleet manager cannot operate one software system for their diesel trucks and a completely separate software system for their EV charging network.
It would be chaos.
Complete chaos. So the dominant platforms are already integrating EV charging networks, weigh station bypass fees, and toll management directly into their existing dashboards.
So the card adapts to whatever energy source is moving the vehicle.
Exactly.
And reading through the sources, the addition of AI into this mix is pushing the capabilities into science fiction territory.
The telematics we discussed earlier are now feeding into advanced predictive AI.
What does that actually look like?
Well, the system isn't just looking at the price of fuel anymore. It is instantly analyzing historical engine data, the heavy grade of an upcoming mountain pass, real-time traffic congestion, and live spot pricing for diesel or electricity.
All at once.
Yes. And it uses all those variables to dynamically alter a driver's route mid-trip for absolute maximum efficiency.
It's doing that complex deviation math we talked about earlier, but instantly factoring in the weight of the cargo and the weather. And this exact same granular data tracking is becoming the ultimate tool for corporate sustainability, isn't it?
It is. Carbon emissions are becoming a tracked currency.
Interesting.
The exact same telematics that fleet managers have used for a decade to squeeze an extra half-mile out of a gallon of diesel are now being utilized to track and audit carbon footprints.
Oh, because if you know exactly how much fuel is burned,
You know exactly how much carbon was emitted. Corporations demanding green supply chains require definitive proof of environmental compliance, and these data engines provide irrefutable, algorithmic proof of emission reductions.
it creates this incredibly powerful win-win-win scenario across the entire logistics spectrum.
It really is.
The drivers no longer have to front their own cash or manage a chaotic shoebox of receipts.
Right.
The brokers, shippers, and fleet managers gain total predictability over the most volatile expense. The service providers who bundle their offerings lock in guaranteed long-term customer loyalty. And honestly, macroeconomic analysts get this incredible real-time pulse on exactly how fast the global economy is moving based entirely on commercial energy consumption.
It illuminates what was once a massive, unpredictable blind spot in the global supply chain, turning raw movement into structured data.
Which brings us to our big takeaway.
Yeah,
We started this deep dive looking at what seems like a mundane piece of static plastic sitting in a trucker's wallet.
right.
But we've unpacked how it serves as the access point to a $13 billion AI-driven ecosystem. It dictates route efficiency down to the inch, it enforces driver compliance, it automates massive tax liabilities, and it acts as the digital enforcer for environmental and sanitation standards.
It is the invisible intelligence making modern logistics financially viable.
So the next time you are driving down the interstate and you see a massive 18-wheeler cruising in the right lane, or you see a freshly washed refrigerated truck backing into the loading dock of your local grocery store, you will know.
You'll see the matrix.
Exactly. You'll know that the truck isn't just being driven, it is being calculated. There is a complex, invisible web of real-time data, strategic algorithms, and automated discounts guiding its every single mile.
Though it does leave us with a rather profound question to consider.
What's that?
Well, if these efficiency systems track every single drop of fuel, dictate every turn on the highway, and monitor every braking event for the sake of ultimate mathematically perfect optimization,
Right.
what happens to the freedom and the independence of the classic open-road trucker? As AI and data platforms tighten their grip on the logistics of moving freight, will the human element of trucking eventually become just another metric on a manager's dashboard?
A biological metric that needs to be optimized, just like the engine.
Exactly.
It's a heavy thought to leave on. Keep questioning the invisible systems running the world around you, keep looking deeper into the wallet, and we will see you on the next deep dive.